it going, everybody? So we're back talking some more of The Boys Season 4 on the channel, Episode 8. We've reached a finale, and this is certainly a finale to remember, for better or for worse. There's definitely some highs in the finale, some stuff I'm more so mixed on. I'm sure that fans are not going to be a big fan of. Essentially, we're going to have a lot of things to discuss going into that final season with all the things that transpire. On the bright side, at least the finale does open up with a pretty hilarious jab taken at David Zaslav and WB Discovery, because now they're shelving A-Train's movie, saying that they'd make way more money writing the film off as opposed to releasing it. Of course, one of the main factors I was worried about going into this finale was the big stinger ending from episode 7, the fact that this shapeshifter is running around acting like she's Annie. I was really hoping that Huey or literally anybody in the show is going to be noticing that Annie is acting very different, but unfortunately that just isn't the case for the majority of this episode. To make matters worse, Huey just kind of embraces it all, ecstatic that she proposes to him, and then they proceed to go and have sex again for some reason. And it only gets worse from there, because then the shapeshifter goes and tells Annie all the juicy details, her plan to use her form to kill Singer, berating her about her past and her powers not working for good measure. Now, I don't want to jump ahead too far already, but I do think it's kind of frustrating that in the end, the stuff revolving around the shapeshifter taking Annie's form doesn't really matter by the end. It really had me in my feelings following up with Butcher after he passed out at the bar. Now he's in the hospital, seeming like he's accepting his time is almost up, telling Huey his last wishes and then apologizing to the boys. Of course, one of the best things about this show is continuing to see Homelander unravel, becoming more and more unstable, and I think we've hit a real breaking point for his stability when it comes to his mental psyche. Laser visioning the entire room in rage after finding that picture of Butcher, Becca, and Terror. That isn't even scratching the surface for how unhinged he's becoming. He's laughing to himself on TV and then tells everybody that Newman's actually a soup and lasers her on screen to prove it to everybody, essentially nuking this entire plan, all for the sake of him trying to start his soup uprising plan. That's extremely half-baked. Even he has no idea what he's really doing at this point, just kind of winging it. It's actually pretty frightening seeing Homelander put forth this plan he has for soup superiority, telling the rest of the Seven his plan about how they're gonna kill Singer, surround the White House, Pentagon, and the Capitol with superheroes to defend Newman as the president. Then for good measure, there's just a whole entire list of people at Vought that they're going to kill. One of those people even being Ashley, although she was kind of added in last minute, unfortunately for her. For being such a dark segment, there were some pretty funny moments here, one of those being Ashley, since the Deep just brings her up as a suggestion and Homelander doesn't care. She's a human. He just says, fine, whatever, just add her to the list. The other part that was so hilarious to me is just the treatment that Homelander has towards Firecracker, even though she's treating him like a god. Don't get me wrong, I don't feel bad for Firecracker whatsoever, but she is looking horrible because of the drugs she's putting herself on just so she can provide breast milk for Homelander. Coughing all over the place, and Homelander just makes her get as far away from her as possible inside of this room. It was pretty horrific though, watching all of the Seven run around the tower murdering all these innocent bystanders. Deep though, killing this guy made me absolutely gag, to the point where I probably can't even show it on YouTube, punching right through this guy's face after demanding affirmation about how great he is. The only part of this that's kind of a bummer is Ashley's fate is kind of left hanging in the balance leading into the final season. I wasn't expecting her to run and inject herself with Compound V. I had to guess based on the prior knowledge of seeing people take Compound V, and the last that we see of her having this horrible reaction, I don't think it's looking pretty good. It's one of various things in this finale that I found to be pretty frustrating. Another one is the continuous debate on Ryan's fate. Is he good? Is he bad? It really started to feel like we were making some true, solid progress with Ryan. To me, at least, it feels like they went and ruined it almost immediately. It started off sweet with these sequences with him going to visit Butcher in the hospital and reconnecting, and it has always been pretty evident that Ryan is a key cog into finally stopping Homelander. But Grace and Butcher, and mostly Grace, go about trying to persuade Ryan in probably the worst imaginable way. Keep in mind, Ryan is already on the fence about even being here. For some reason, he likes being in Vought Tower with Homelander. But then Grace proceeds to tell him all of the horrible things that Homelander's done, the secrets. The worst of them all is telling him that Homelander actually sexually assaulted Becca, so he's a product of sexual assault, and that this room is designed to trap superheroes in it, so she's not gonna let him leave even if he wants to. So of course, Ryan gets pissed off at this, pushes Grace into the wall, and she dies instantly. Congratulations, you played yourself. Why would you even think that was going to be a good idea? Now you're dead. With this fake Annie running around, I was pretty nervous when the boys and her go down into the bunker to speak to Singer. Thankfully, or I guess maybe not thankfully, depending on everybody else in the room, Huey finally realizes that this isn't Annie after all. All it took was her basically saying the exact same phrase that the shapeshifter said about being hot. It's just a shame that him and MM are awful at trying to play things cool, since the shapeshifter sees right through it and starts brutally killing everybody in this room. Low-key Low-key though, I was kind of underwhelmed that Kimiko didn't put up that much of a fight trying to take on this shapeshifter Annie. She gets her neck broken almost instantly. I mean, I wasn't expecting Kimiko to win or anything, but I figured that the fight would be a little bit better, you know? Luckily, Annie broke free just in time to save them, and this sequence is probably the best battle of the entire finale. Not only is it just a pretty awesome fight to see Annie versus Annie, but also on a deeper level as it acts as Annie seeming to turn a corner and trying to accept herself. I was really happy that Annie was overcoming these obstacles because she's faced so much trauma essentially the entire season, but I wasn't a big fan of the fact that she was so angry at Hughie for all the things with this fake Annie. Honestly, I think it's kind of irritating how Hughie has kind of become the punching bag of season 4. Losing his father, the stuff revolving around Tech Knight when he was dressed up as Web Weaver, on top of all the stuff with this shapeshifter Annie. Even Newman tries to blame him for Samir losing a leg when he had absolutely nothing to do with it. It was Butcher. Can we please give Hughie a break at some point? I don't know why it just seems like all of a sudden the writers of the show hate Hughie so much. She still sticks up for Newman when she wants a way out for herself and her daughter after things have gone too far, not wanting to be Homelander's pawn. Adjacent to all of this stuff, the Kimiko and Frenchie storyline, don't get me wrong, I am happy by the outcome because Kimiko tells Frenchie that she lied about her feelings since she felt that she wasn't good enough and he deserved better, leading to Kimiko and Frenchie kissing and seemingly they're gonna be together from now on. This was all that we were asking for from the very beginning, these two together, and they decided to kind of just meander around it, almost in a way of subverting our expectations because that's what we wanted, so we're gonna have them not be together. I don't know, I think I could have done without a lot of the meandering that we had for both of their characters this season because they did have two of the worst storylines. You don't even get a proper conclusion to the stuff revolving around Kimiko and that woman from Shining Light. Out of all the decisions though for this finale, I think everything in the climax from here on is the things that I think the fan base is going to be very divided on. Because it certainly feels like we're setting up some pretty diabolical things. And not gonna lie, I kind of felt like a complete idiot because I was getting excited where it seemed like maybe Newman was gonna side with the boys going into that final season, only for Butcher to walk in and completely ruin it. Immediately you basically know that something is up with Butcher. It was pretty clear from the look that he gave Kessler that that was the final push that he needed to accept Kessler and take Compound V. It was evident he was looking far better because he walked in looking like the old Butcher. Sure, it was expected at this point that Butcher was gonna have powers. We saw them teased many times. He was gonna have some type of tentacles, much like that rabbit we saw. And I tell you how angry I was that he wraps up Newman in the tentacles and tears her in half, killing her. I was so angry because there's nothing that these characters could really even do to stop Butcher, even Newman, because Butcher wrapped the tentacles around her eyes so she couldn't pop anybody's heads. I wasn't against Newman dying at some point, but I would have just expected something a little bit better, not a sudden shock value death, because Butcher just leaves immediately after doing this. So yeah, what a way to take out Newman. I was not a big fan of that, but RIP. Even with all these different variables left up to chance for this plan working, Sister Sage shows up to celebrate, telling Homelander that Newman wasn't who they wanted anyways, using Singer as a patsy to go down for killing Newman, with this new guy being in charge that does pledge allegiance to Homelander and whatever he wants. Essentially, going into the final season, Homelander is basically the president, allowing now for these superheroes to take charge, be deputized, report to Homelander for everything, giving this whole entire speech about a new age of superheroes, and it made me roll my eyes a little bit that Homelander actually says, "Make America super again." There's still one big kick in the teeth, but this one has me a little bit intrigued on where we're going to go with that final season, also tying in the stuff with Gen V. Since during all of this, almost all of the boys are captured in some way by Soups, Love Sausage takes out MM, Kate and Sam pop back up to take Frenchie away while Sam holds Kimiko, leading her to finally speak, so kind of a positive amongst all of this tragedy. One major callback that I was kind of surprised by was Cindy returning. I had completely forgotten about Cindy. She has been gone for several seasons at this point, but she's part of the squad that helps take Hughie into custody while Annie flies away. She flies away basically like Captain Marvel at this point, so at least she has her powers back going into that final season. And if it wasn't obvious already, Butcher is on his own path with Kessler, and we get one final stinger, a kind of mid-credit scene if you will, and that's when Homelander goes to check out a secret little area, and who else is he looking at but Soldier Boy. So if I had to guess, I think this certainly means Soldier Boy is going to return for the final season, but Soldier Boy does not like Homelander, so I have to wonder how we're going to integrate him into the season. I kind of doubt that he's going to be on Homelander's side unless he has some really good convincing behind him. Now here I'm kind of just theorizing because we only have one season left of the boys, and season 2 of Gen V is coming up very soon. They're filming it right now. I have a strong feeling we're going to be seeing these shows connect even further going into that final season, and we'll probably see some threads of that in season 2 of Gen V. Since we still have no idea what Marie, Emma, Jordan, or Andre, what they're up to. Last we saw them, they were in prison, so I have to wonder if we're going to see some sort of overlap here with most of the boys' team getting taken away. I have to imagine to one of those camps, so I'm not going to be surprised if we're going to see some of these characters being thrown in prison and interacting with the cast of Gen V, and that's going to lead into the final season. The boys, the Gen V characters fighting side by side to try and take down Homelander and the Seven and all the other superheroes. Probably even Butcher, because Butcher is kind of just a third party at this point. This finale was definitely pretty mixed. It might be one of my least favorite finales of The Boys so far. This season all around has been pretty much a mixed bag, unfortunately. I've had a lot of fun covering it. There's been some stuff I've enjoyed in every episode, but some of the decision making, the storylines here, definitely left a lot to be desired. It's kind of tough because season 3 was just so good overall that a lot of this did feel kind of underwhelming, but I feel like a lot of the building blocks here are now set for a pretty exciting final season, so I'm hoping that they stick the landing because it is the final season after all. But make sure you share your thoughts down below. What'd you think of this finale for season 4 of The Boys? Did you like the finale? Did you not like the finale? How'd you feel about all the decisions made here in the storylines, how we're setting up things for the final season? If you have any predictions though on the final season, share those below as well. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel to update views, reactions, unboxings, and more. The next time, I'll see you guys later.